the most stressful and unenjoyable part of the business was just the stress of like always being up on the chopping block for a client each month. They're always just really having to justify the ad spend, the retainer. And it was good because it forced us to do like our best work for people and actually make our stuff work. But at the end of the day, we're like,
welcome back to Agency Masters. I'm Robb Bailey, and this podcast is where I share the strategies, systems, and insights I've gained from selling my own agency and helping over 20,000 digital agencies grow and do the same. My hope is that the content here is valuable to you along your journey and that you share, review, and enjoy. Hey everybody, Rob here. Welcome to the podcast. I want to welcome Graydon and Jordan Ursel. They are both total G's in the agency space, digital marketing agency space. You guys have both been through a program that I ran as early adopters way back in the day that like in internet years were dinosaurs, right? So really excited to have you on today to talk about what you've done, what kind of successes you've had since we first met, talk about any challenges you had along the way, and really kind of celebrate some of the wins that you've had using a system. So really excited to have you and welcome to the show.
yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate that intro.
Of course. So for all of those who might be seeing this little no camera and card thing, I just can't figure it out. I'm not a techie guy. I'm basically a caveman. So yes, it's there. Yes, I know it's there. But we're all busy. I have a family. I have a business. These guys have a business. They have a family. Like we're just gonna get it on. So, really, what I want to start to open the conversation with in the podcast with today is sort of where you guys started. Because when I met you, you guys were in a much different place than where you are now, and that is 100% due to your smarts, your hard work, your ethic, your willingness to help your clients succeed more than you succeed. And that just is completely aligned with the whole systempreneur mindset that I think that more people should embody. And so I first want to congratulate on that, congratulate the both of you on all that. I don't know how you work together as brothers. I don't have a brother, I have sisters. But maybe we can dive into that. Like, how do you guys work together? But first of all, congratulations on all your success. And secondly, maybe you can just sort of give us like a little bit of a background on where you guys started. And then we'll talk about where you guys are today.
Sure. So we started probably like 5 years ago. Yeah, Jordan, when we actually both went to university. We went to Queen's University. Like he took in Ontario, Canada. Jordan took engineering and I took a commerce degree. And then when we graduated, we actually started a bunch of different businesses by ourselves, and that all kind of failed. And we eventually joined forces to create what's now called Forever Booked, and it's an agency for medical spas. And we got a good start because like our dad owns a medical spa, so like it was really helpful because we already had a lot of like experience with that. But we didn't really get any good results until like your course. I think it was a nurturing clothes course, but we got a really good deal on it. I think we got it for like $500 or something, and that was when we first started getting like really good results. Like you remember that, Jordan? I think it was like summer 2018 and 19.
Yeah, it was at our cottage, and we had like terrible internet, and we were running our like first or second DR, and Happen was on the call with us, and it was working so well, and we were just getting so excited because it was just like one of our first big wins. We're like, holy crap, this could actually work. This is so cool.
Yeah, I love it. That's so cool. Yeah. Well, so where were you guys at in that time of your lives? Like, how old were you? How far out of university were you? Was it just like a classic? We're out of college. Yeah, good.
Yeah. Like we both graduated, and I think we both we wanted to start something. Like we didn't really want to get into the regular 9 to 5, joining another job, but we didn't really know exactly what we wanted to do. To be honest, we kind of floundered for a while. It was probably 6 months of just like testing different things and trying different stuff out. And then we joined forces, and then we continued to flounder for probably like another 6 months. We were living at home. I had a little part-time job cleaning fridges at a used appliance store. That was kind of funny.
I was a barista.
And Graydon was a barista. Yes. But then, we just kind of, we got together, and then we just thought about it, and it just kind of made sense for us to join forces. And then, Like my dad, he's always been into marketing and he's big on all that kind of stuff. And so it was kind of like a natural transition to just start working with businesses similar to that. And then we got into DR, and that really kind of gave us the boost we needed to kind of start things up. And then from there, it's just been kind of like steady kind of uphill growth.
I love it, man. So, okay, cool. So what age were you at this sort of stage of your life?
I think I was
like
20.
I was like 23. George was probably 25. Like I'm 27 now. George, what, you're 29? So you're probably like
Yeah.
24, 25, and I was like 23.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's like a typical age where especially like a lot of young men are just like, hey, I'm going to figure out what I like, what I want to do. Yeah, I studied, but is this like what I want to do for the rest of my life? I think everybody goes through that in their 20s, and especially as, as a man, maybe feel like you got to pursue something to be a provider eventually, right? Like that's kind of a difficult choice. So like, I guess what led you guys to wanting to pursue this business model? And like, what were the challenges when you first started off? Like, I guess before you found the leverage through the system, right? Like what were you guys doing to try and get into this industry before you found sort of like a system to work, right?
Yeah, I think we're actually really lucky because our dad, he owns a med spa, but he's super entrepreneurial. And like, even when we were little kids, like he was buying us these there was this thing called Badge a Minute. And when we were little kids, he was giving us this like little things to start businesses. Like he was almost like forcing us to start businesses like that. I'm a little kid. I want to start a business. So like, that's super rare. And we were super lucky because most parents are the opposite. They're like stopping you from doing that.
Yeah.
So we were really lucky that way.
Your dad was a huge influence on your entrepreneurial.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
For sure.
So
like
cool.
Huge influence. He actually, the very first course that I went through was called the Profit League, Jeff and Jess Sammys. They're like Canadian as well.
Yep.
That was how I actually learned to run it. Yeah. Yeah. And he actually bought their course. So he would buy the course and then you'd have no time to implement it because he's in his clinic. So he's like, okay, I bought, like, just go through this thing and do something with it. So now go through it and try to cut the course. Yeah.
That's so cool, man. That is so rad. All right. So your dad kind of planted the bug, and then what made you guys like want to stick with it, I guess, versus other stuff? I mean, how did you guys catch the bug besides just like exposure?
I think we were trying a bunch of different things, and we kind of like we made the decision that like this is what we're going to do. And I think we both had the mindset where we're just going to do this for a really long time. We're not going to switch. And I think that was really helpful, like, because I think if we had made some kind of switch to some kind of like different industry and just hadn't been working at it and just grinding at it for a really long period of time, then I don't really think we'd be where we are. But it was nice to like, I think we were both on the same page from the very beginning that we're just going to keep going, and we're just going to, keep trying until we know that it's like it'd be, until we know that it's like absolutely a bad idea. But until we get to that level, we're just going to keep trying. So that's kind of where we're coming from.
Man, that's so uncommon these days. I mean, I feel like a lot of young folks, like my kids are between 5 and 9 right now as of the recording of this video. And I really want them to stick with something, but not to the point to where they're like, feel like they have to do that forever, right? It's like, stick with something long enough to give yourself a chance to learn and grow and build a skill set and build confidence. And then you have to like wake up and be like, okay, in 10 years from now, am I still going to be happy doing this? Yes or no, with all the information I have right now, which is a hard question to ask and answer, right? But if you do see yourself doing that in 10 years and you think you'll be happy, then pass go, right? And if not, cool, but like have the self-awareness to stop and be like, I kind of feel like I should graduate to something better or do something different. And I know that it's going to take some learning, some time to do that as well. But I think for you guys in your 20s, I've always been impressed by you guys' like composure and your self-awareness, because at no point has it seemed like you're doing something that you don't want to do or you're miserable doing. You seem to like embrace it and go all in, but like with a certain amount of self-awareness that makes sense for you guys, right? Like I've never had to stop you guys, either one of you, and be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, and I've had to do that with other people before where I feel like it's an obligation for me to go and kind of say, hey, look, you're complaining about this the whole way, and yet you keep sticking with it. And in business, you don't have to be married to it necessarily, right? So like, is that the way it felt to you guys the whole time, or was that just my perception of sort of observing over the past five-ish years?
Yeah, like it's definitely been tough at times. Like we definitely had a couple seasons where it's been really difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we definitely had like the long-term outlook on it. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's because we just know that we're it. I heard this one interview with, I forget like what podcast it was, but like if you're already in a business that's proven to like, if you're already in a proven model that's proven to work and you're serving people where there's a problem, it's not like we're starting this brand new like 0 to 1 startup where we don't even know if people want the thing, It's like we
Right.
know that businesses want more leads, we know that they want more appointments, and so if we fail, it's like more on us, not the actual like opportunity that we're using. So I think knowing that, it's like you can have that in the back of your mind and just continue to go.
Oh yeah, man. Again, which is really smart and self-aware, because the speed to lead problem has always been an issue. The tools change, the tech changes. It has always, always, always been an issue. Like one of my favorite movies is Glengarry Glen Ross, right? Like where coffee's for closers, like always be closing, this whole thing. And a lot of people so I'm 44 years old. A lot of people who are younger than me have never seen that movie, but the principles, it's a movie about sales, right? So all the other sales movies that you see, like The Boiler Room, I don't know if you guys saw that with Giovanni Ribisi. Same thing. The guy's sitting there going like, dude, there's these leads. When you call them, you have to get them while the iron's hot, right? And then Wolf of Wall Street is probably something that everybody knows who's like 20 and older, at least. And it's the same thing, right? So the reason why I'm so passionate about solving this problem is because the tools just keep getting easier. And for the people who understand this, like folks like you and I, who understand how to like make a system out of it and help businesses improve their lives with it, it's never been easier, cheaper, more efficient to do that. So in my mind, it's like there's literally no excuse left, right? And now you introduce something like AI, which we talked about before we started the podcast. It's even like more of a no-brainer, right? So, but there's still this sea of businesses out there that do not understand that they're literally leaving money on the table by not covering the basics with this stuff. And so, good on you guys for just realizing like this is still a problem. If we're not making this work, that's on us, because Lord knows, man, there's so many businesses out there that need this kind of help. There's millions, hundreds of millions probably.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's just crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's absolutely crazy to like just start using ChatGPT and integrate that into our business. It's just been like I'm honestly just continuously amazed that it actually works as well as it does. And it's so incredibly exciting because like for us, the way that we used to take on lead nurturing for our clients is like we used to have a team of people and they would respond to messages and like they'd have templates to use and like they'd think of responses and stuff like that. And it was good, but like just having like completely immediate responses available 24/7 all times that are actually good and being able to scale that out is just like the results we're seeing so far is like I haven't seen anything like it and I'm just super excited about it moving forward.
That's awesome, man. Awesome. Okay, let's talk about the AI stuff here a little bit later, but let's fast forward just from your guys' story because
Sure.
I want to make sure we don't miss it, right? So you guys got started. Your dad is sort of like this great entrepreneurial like influencer in your life, and you guys bite. You're like, I'm in on this, right? So you get in and maybe you don't have a system, maybe you find our system and you're just sort of like, I get this, right? Like I get the speed of lead problem, I get the lead nurturing problem out there. Where did you start off at, like revenue wise, when you started that? Like, was your dad your first client? And then like what happened after that to lead to where you are? And please tell us where you are now. Like how many clients are you serving? How big's your agency? Like all that good stuff. I'm sure people want to know for sure.
Well, yeah, like you actually, you kind of caught us at a funny time, Rob, because we're actually in the middle of like rejigging our entire model. So our revenue, I'll give you like sort of the timeline of the revenue. So like
Please.
back in 2018, 2017, we were at like 20, probably like 20K, like 10 to 20K for like a long time, like a year
Per
or
month?
two, maybe even more per
Per
month.
month? Yeah.
And then
per
we
month.
got up to like, and then we joined a bunch of different programs and kind of like changed our model around. Like we were doing like paper show for a bit. We were doing like all these different types of models. And then we probably like maxed out around like 60K a month, or probably around like 2020. And then we joined SWAS, your SWAS program. And that's when
Yeah.
we started to really crush it. And then we peaked, our top month was like, I think last November, we made like 250K, like after ad spend. We made like 100K profit that month, which was pretty amazing. That was like the peak of our, like that, the agency. But what happened is like, we encountered a fulfillment problem with the done for you stuff, where George was just like, he was still doing a lot of the media buying. He was kind of going insane. So recently what we did, we actually kind of did what you did, Rob, when you had your agency and it was like super high revenue, but it was kind of bloated. That's where we were like late 2022. Like we had super high revenues, but like we had like 15 people on the team and the margins were really like the margins weren't the best.
Yeah.
So we actually like recently downgraded. We let go of a bunch of clients that we didn't like working with. And now our team's like way smaller as well. So now the revenue is much lower. Like we actually almost went down to like 20K a month. This past month we made like 40K, but we're going to build it up with like much better revenues now. So in like a couple months, we should be back to like 100K a month revenue, but our margins are going to be like 70 to 80% instead of like 30 to 40% where they were before.
I love it.
So it's been quite the journey. We've been like all over the place.
And this is the natural flow, right, of entrepreneurship. And anyone who tells you otherwise, unless you're like some unicorn, right, like whoever, Elon Musk, whoever you want to name, right? But this is what's normal. And when you get to the point to where you realize that, hey, I scaled it, but I was unhappy for whatever reason, and usually it's like not even more money, it's not even more profit, take home profit for you guys. Then you realize, hey, we can have it really good in this lower revenue but much higher margin service-based business, but I'm using a system to do more of the work. I think that's the key for most people who are like you and I, right? Like, unless you have some big hairy goal, okay, which is fine. That, like, if that's what you want out there, go for it, right? But I think for me, especially as a dad, and I run very much like family business, so every dollar that goes into our business or comes out is literally like bottom line back to me and my family, right? So I have a small team, and I've never been happier with this level of team that we've had. I experienced the same thing, man. Our highest months were our highest bloat and highest headache months too. The months where I got the least amount of sleep, you know?
Yeah.
And so,
yeah.
you know, as you mature, as you go through it, you're like, well, what do I really want out of this whole thing? Right. And that's a smart question to ask, because then in entrepreneurship, you can craft it almost any way you want. Right. So for you guys to go that high to that high ceiling and then go, oh, this is not really what we want. Now we're going to intentionally bring it down to work with our ideal clients and then rebuild it back the way that we ideally want it with our ideal fit clients. I think, again, is super smart and super mature of you guys. I mean, I applaud you for doing that. Right.
Thank you. And it's so funny because like I've heard before we did reach that ceiling, like I've heard a bunch of times of other people going through that same process. But it's like, I don't know, like some things I feel like you just need to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like you just kind of need to like do it yourself and go there, because then you get the true perspective. And like, I feel like you just want to do it as quickly as possible. So you just get it all over with and like get that experience over with and then come back to it. So,
yeah. I mean, it's the reason why like a lot of people will go like, oh my gosh, you played in the league. Like, I just take an example of any sports figure, right? Like JJ Redick. Okay, played in the NBA for 15 seasons. Now he runs a podcast and he's talking about how much he had to do just to stay relevant, to stay in the NBA. And he's like, I was not the most talented dude. I was not the most like aspirational dude even, but my regiment was so dialed for me to just stay in the league that like I basically wasn't living life. Michael Phelps is another example. Like at the peak of his Olympic career, the second that he won that year that he won all those crazy medals, he's like, dude, I've been around the world, but all I've done is been to the pool and the hotel, right? So at a certain point, you have to ask yourself, like, what do I want out of this, right? And I'm not saying that we're professional athletes, or it's like that's where the relationship between this analogy ends. Like, we're not special. We're not like that talented compared to what sports athletes are, right? But what we do have is a very high level of choice, and athletes kind of don't. Like JJ Redick couldn't stay in the NBA. He couldn't stay in the game, put it that way, if he didn't do all those things. So he had to do that to stay in the game, right? In business, it's different. You can be us, and we can craft it from day one, but we kind of have to experience different things to really know what we want, right? And that's the part that most people have a hard time with, because what we're taught in school or when you go to college or university or whatever is like, yeah, there's like this path that you have to follow, and you just steadily climb it. Hopefully one day you get to the top, but you probably won't. Right? And so for us though, a lot of times, like, it's kind of hard for me when sometimes people ask me for advice on things. I'm like, some of this you just got to experience for yourself to see if you really like it. Could you think you want this? You go experience it. It could be that you love that and you just want to go, right? It could be that you figure out what I figured out and what it sounds like you guys figured out, which is I want it this way, not that way now, right? Like, I've seen other people do it. They say this about it, and maybe it sounds great on paper, whatnot, right? So I think it's very wise, and I think that you guys have done a great job of like figuring out how it works for you, because it's. But correct me if I'm wrong. Is it just you two as the owners of the business? Are you guys partners?
Yeah.
Well, my dad owns a bit of it too.
Oh, does he? Cool.
But it's like
he's the advisor.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So that's dope. So it's like a family business. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So cool. All right. So you guys are transitioning. What are you building? Does AI have something to do with the transition, that like where you kind of cut all the clients that you don't like or who are pains in the butt or whatever? Now you're sort of like small and profitable. But is AI part of this equation for you building it back up to get more leverage through the system that you're offering to folks?
Yeah, Jordan, want me to maybe I'll explain like our positioning, Jordan, then you can kind of explain the how we're like fulfilling it and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
So we've actually I've wanted to do like the SaaS. I've been seeing everyone talking about like the SaaS, right? SaaS. And it's just been such a shiny object the whole time.
Yeah.
Because at our peak, we were doing like peak done for you. We were doing everything for the client. At one point, we didn't even give them go high level because we didn't even want them to be distracted by that. We just had like a simple spreadsheet where they tracked all their sales. And we even created a call center at the end as well. So we went like all the way to like most done for you.
Yep.
But then like that's when we discovered like this isn't the business we want to build. Like we want to have more of like a lean, mean lifestyle business that's super profitable. And we were building like this super unprofitable like call center business. And so that was kind of like the peak of it. And then I've always wanted to do SaaS, like actually get someone on the SaaS plan and like have like a lower ticket cost per month and like have them on really long and have a really sticky service where you do like websites and things like that. But I felt like for us, the big thing that was missing was the lead nurturing. Like if someone signed up for SaaS, they would still have to nurture their leads unless you had some like team in the background that they could use to nurture their leads. But then as soon as the AI, as soon as that integration came out, and we're actually using a system called Capri AI to like integrate it with Go High Level. As soon as that came out, I was like, okay, it's time to do SaaS now, because I felt like that was the missing piece. So now now what we're doing is we're doing like an 8-week consulting program where we charge like mid 4 figures to do the 8-week consulting program. And then after that, it's like $500 a month. I'm going to increase it to $600 a month. So it's like much lower monthly fee, and it's more of like a done with you program. So now it's way more scalable because we're like teaching people how to do their own things, like run their own ads, run their own reactivations. And then the AI like holds everything together. And so the way I'm positioning it now is I'm kind of like, I think like done for you agencies are fine, but I'm kind of like shitting on them. I'm like, the AI technology is so good now that you actually don't need to hire an agency. They're almost like middlemen when you can just get our stuff, get better results, and then like pay much less money. So that's like sort of our positioning right now with the new service.
I love it, man.
George, he's been setting up all the AI in the background.
Well, like, but that's the reality of the situation too. Like, this is gonna come. It's just a matter of when, right? And like, who's gonna capitalize on? But like, I think that your positioning is smart because I know that local businesses need agencies, but they can't afford high custom pricing.
Yeah.
They really can't, you know? So when I teach agency owners how to price and package stuff, I'm always like, you have to put a return on investment attached to it if it's going to be above a certain amount, right? Because otherwise it's just like, dude, I'm paying you more than maybe I'm taking home, or I'm maybe paying you more than my front desk assistant or some of my techs or some of my employees, right? Like, it's really hard to justify that, even though as marketers, if you're doing good in lead gen, you know, you might be doing your job just fine, but it's the old, like, hey, the leads suck. Oh, no, you suck at sales and follow up, right? Like, everyone's pointing fingers at each other. So anything that brings those two things closer together, any system specifically, is going to help the agency owner win or the system provider win. And the client, the local business client, is going to win too, because they have just a better machine that's more cost efficient, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that was probably the
Rob,
most. Oh, sorry.
Can you see Rob?
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
Okay, I just can't see your face.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, that was the most like stressful and kind of unenjoyable part of the business, was just having just the stress of like always being up on the chopping block for a client each month. They always just really having to justify like the ad spend, the retainer. And it was good because it forced us to like try to do like our best work for people and actually make our stuff work. And that was good. But at the end of the day, we're like, with these new tools, we can basically provide exactly what we're providing before and more, and make it even better, but charge much less and just have a stickier product that people, you know, they're like, wow, I get all of this for this price, instead of being each month like, oh, okay, like, is this worth it? Am I going to continue? And like, just kind of being in that, you know, merry-go-round.
Yeah. The reason why I love that so much is because when you make your service closer to like a utility bill, like something they have to keep on, that's just a no-brainer value. It's like, how do you compete with the value of keeping the lights on, or the toilets flushing, or the water on? You know, you can't. And it's just at such a low cost. It's like, well, what else are you going to do? Go out to the desert to get a bucket of water? No. Are you going to go and try and create electricity on your own for your one little look? The answer is no, right? So the closer you get to that thing being like indispensable for a price that is like hilariously low compared to the alternative, right? The more market position that you have. So you guys are onto it, man. That's a great decision. So like, I'm sure people have questions about the AI. I'm not asking you to give like all your secrets away or whatever, but you kind of already dropped this tool's name. Are there any other, like, how did you guys arrive at going from like, okay, we do a great job at providing a system through reactivation, lead nurturing campaigns, et cetera, right, to get our clients great results. How did you guys finally take the leap to going like, okay, we're going to plug this AI thing into our stuff to make it go, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think we just saw Quentin, who was he's the founder of Capri. I think I saw like one of his YouTube videos, and I was looking at it, and I was just like watching how it works. I'm just like, this could be, you know, this could work perfectly for us. And so basically what we did is we took everything that we're already doing, and then we figured out how to make that happen just using ChatGPT and this new tool. So it was like, it's still a bit tough. Like it has bugs, and like it's not perfect by any means, but it works like quite well. And like it just kind of keeps getting better with time. So yeah, it was pretty natural transition. We basically just duplicated what we were already doing, and then just figured out how to copy that and just make the AI do it instead of having a person do it.
I love it, man. Nice. Sweet, man. Well, you got to let us know how it goes. We'll certainly have you guys back sometime to kind of catch up on how everything's gone. So maybe tell us a little bit about like where you guys are at now personally. Like, does this feel like a more fulfilling business as you kind of buy in more to like stacking your system more and more? Does it feel better? Like, what's your stress levels like? What are your Like, has it affected how much you work, for example?
I think
Like how's it
I,
improved your life? I guess is probably a better way to phrase it.
yeah, in many ways, like, the like first thing is just having a lot of overhead. It just sucks. It just sucks. Like there's no other way to put it. Like if you're doing huge numbers and you know it's going to be consistent, I think it's okay. But for us, it was like with every new client that we brought on, you have to hire like, new account managers, new VAs, new people to manage. And at some point it just gets like, you're like, oh, okay, like we did great this month. We got this big, huge bill to like, to pay for fulfillment. And like that, it kind of weighs on you. And, for me anyways, it was just like, it just kind of made it miserable because it was just stress all the time. And also just managing a lot of people, that's a lot. And with the way we're doing it now, it feels like we get to work a lot more on the things we actually work on. Like I'm happy to like build systems all day. I think that's super fun. It's so much more fun than having to manage people. And yeah, it's made work more fun. And it's made everything like less stressful all around. Yeah, that's how it's been like for me. What about you, Grid?
Yeah, I think it's like different strokes for different folks. Like I think some people I think we've already kind of done the whole performance agency where, we're on the you're being paid high ticket, but you're also kind of on the chopping block each month. I think if you're going to do performance, you should have like very few clients and charge like super, super high ticket if you're going to do performance. We were kind of like in the middle where it was like medium high ticket, but also performance. I think we were kind of in like kind of like a bit of a no man's land there. So if you're going to do performance, I think you should just be like work with only a few clients and have ultra high ticket. But now what I like and like where we're at now is there is an element like where we are generating an ROI, but there's not that huge pressure to do it. Like when, for example, like I don't really even like on the sales call, I don't really even talk about, because I'm doing the sales right now for this new program. Like I don't really talk that much about how much money they're going to make. I just talk about how we're going to solve these like annoying problems. And so the focus is away from just like, yeah, we're just going to fill your pockets with money and more, we're going to solve these problems. So it's like, there's pressure taken away from creating that ROI each month and just like way less stressful. At least for me and Jordan, it's like, this is where we want to be because we've tried everything else and this is the business that we like to run.
Wow. Okay, cool. So what is the difference between, if you can outline like the cons that you're avoiding maybe right now with this?
Yeah.
Like, I know you kind of glance on some of them, but like, is it a shorter sales process? Is it like, it doesn't seem like you guys had a problem selling before. Was it just,
no, like,
is it just like the pressure of having to perform every month and being like, have them be like, is this bill with it versus like now you're selling something easier like a utility bill like the water bill? I mean, is it that simple or like what am I missing?
One thing is like it's an easier sale because we're basically giving people what they paid like thousands of dollars a month for. Yeah. And they're only paying like a couple $100 a month. They're paying like $500-$600 a month for it because we're able to deliver it much more efficiently because we're using AI and we're like showing them how they can do it instead of us doing it for them. So first, there's like way more value that people are getting. And then also the other thing is like, yeah, like they're still getting really good results, but we don't have to justify, like it's much easier for them to justify what they're paying us because they're not paying us nearly as much for what they're getting. There was one more thing that I kind of forgot. Joe,
one thing that has been really nice for me is that previously, like since you're kind of up on the chopping block and you're charging like a higher retainer.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of clients who like I thought our agent, like I think our agency and think it was like pretty good. I thought we delivered like a high level of service, but just like people quitting, it makes you doubt it internally. And then you're like, oh, well, are we providing a lot of value? And it just makes like when you're going through all these problems, it's just kind of like, I don't know, just kind of like hurts you on a deeper level because you're like, oh, I really want to make sure that people are happy with our product. And I want to make sure that, they like it and they're getting value out of it. And when people quit, you're just like, you start to doubt yourself internally. And now I feel like it feels like the product is like for what people get and what they pay, like they seem to be a lot happier with it. And then that's just like, it just feels better. And it's just
Yeah.
like, I don't know how to describe it. It's just like a better feeling having a product that people are like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I'm so glad you guys have this. This is dope. And it just
Yeah.
like, it makes like just working way more fun.
Yeah. Well, the reality is people quit services all the time for any number of reasons. It usually has nothing to do with the service. In my opinion, it's like they make an internal decision that isn't necessarily logical all the time. Right. So what that means is you have to be a constant sales organization to a degree. Right. So even if you have a client that's about to quit, you put your sales hat back on, you go back in and say, hey, this is all the value you're providing. Why would you want to quit something like this? Yada, yada, yada. And it's usually an emotional decision, not a logical one. We can't do anything about that on our side of things to a degree, right? So I love that you've kind of detached it from being like, it sounds like it's almost like a sleep better at night offer. Keep this thing plugged in. You're going to save money. It's going to be more efficient anyways. You get to sleep better at night. These problems are solved. You can check that box and you just kind of move on, right? Meaning the business owner can just kind of be like, I've got that covered. I know as long as I keep these guys' system operational, I don't have to worry about these problems. Is that kind of like, did I hear that correctly? Versus I'm thinking like,
I mean,
about
we're
how
getting these, but
yeah.
yeah, it's that, but it's almost like I'm almost positioning it as replacing an agency. It's like a lot of our clients, they were paying an agency, and it's like, look, we're going to get you the same or not, if not better results, but you're going to pay like way less money for it. Plus, you're going to get
Yeah.
all these other systems as well.
Got it. So it's like an improvement offer on top of everything I just said.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're still getting crazy results. Like we're still making people tons of money, but they're also getting all these other, like we haven't gone super deep into like all the different other, like the SWAT, like the hooks that you're talking about in the SWAT program. We haven't gone super deep into those things because we're still working on like the core, like AI nurturing and like getting their reactivations and their Facebook campaigns. But we're going to start rolling more and more of those things out. So they're going to get like, so we're still getting them like really quick results with the reactivation and getting new leads coming in. And then they're also gonna be able to plug in like all those other tools that you talk about. So they get everything for that fee.
Nice. Very nice. Okay, cool. So there's a lot more upside to your system than just that one component that you start dating them with per se. Right?
Yeah. And
Nice.
sorry, I want to say one more thing. So this is the thing that I forgot earlier. It's like, I feel like if you're doing everything for a client, you only want to work with clients that you really, really enjoy working with. And when you have a program where all you do is done for you, when you bring in clients for done for you, a lot of those clients, you don't know if you're going to like working with them. So with our program, once we bring them in with our done with you, there's like less fulfillment. So if they aren't the best fit, like we're not going to invest as much time as if we were doing like a full on done for you service. And so we can still offer like a fully managed service on the back end, but people almost have to qualify themselves to work with us in that capacity.
Ooh,
So
I love that.
they do the done with you first. And then once we can get results and they're like, oh, I just don't want to manage the ads. Then if we like them, then we can work with them. So it's like, we're still doing done with you, but the dynamic's way different because they have to almost prove themselves first.
I love that, man. It's like I call it the burrito date, right? Like go on a really low expectation level date. It's cheap. You get in, you get like an immediate ROI. Okay, that person's cool. And then if you want to, then you graduate into something more serious, right? But not everybody. Like I love the dating analogy for that one because it's so important. Like the smaller that you are, the more choosy you have to be about your clientele because it's money math sense and it's also like stress, burnout, like you guys are human too sense, right? I mean, it just because it'll keep you guys up at night. You get a pain in the butt client who's asking the world of you, scope creep, and then you guys are up at night going like, holy cow, do we either bend over backwards to make this person happy for almost no more money, or do we just let them go, take a hit to our revenue, like SY, you know how that plays out. So, that's that's brilliant. Actually, I like that a lot. So it's like you must pass go, and even to even hear about our managed service, right? Is that kind of what you're describing?
Yeah.
Oh,
yep,
that's
exactly.
smart. So smart.
Thank you.
That's rad. Cool. can I ask you guys a question about, when Graydon, when I saw you at the high level event last year, we're at this conference, Graydon comes up to me. I'm like, hey man, nice to meet you in person. And we just chatted. And one of the smartest things that I heard through that whole event was you said that you named some of these campaigns that, yeah, like, I think that's also very, very wise, right? So like, can you guys tell me a little bit about how you arrived at sort of naming some of these playbooks that you have? Because I think that's something that a lot of people miss out on. It might seem trivial to some, but I think that it's really smart, especially in the local space, to sort of like add some nomenclature to the way that you do things in your system. Can you speak on that a little bit? Like whatever you want to share on it. But I thought that was really smart of you guys to do.
Yeah, we just like sat down one day. We're like, let's think of some dope names for the service. Like we're putting our pillars together. Like let's think of a good name for the pillars. So we call like the social media ads, we call the social funnel. So it's like a social funnel. Like that's a pretty good one. But the one that really caught on was the booster shots. That's what we call the reactivation. And like that one, like we've actually cycled through a bunch of different names, and you have to try a couple before your clients start to catch on. And like we knew it caught on when our clients would be on a call. They're like, oh, like I want to run another booster. Like let's run another booster shot. And it just like flows off the tongue, right? And it works because it's medical, and it's like you're injecting your clinic with profits. It's like a really good analogy, and it works pretty well. So like the booster shot works really well. The social funnel, we have like a system we call the offer engine that we use to like build out offers. So that works well. But the booster shot's the main one. And then we're thinking of calling like another booster shot that's like a continuous one that runs all year round. We might call it like the IV drip or something, because it's like dripping like throughout the year.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's really helpful to name them. Because
because like
differentiate too.
It totally. So I won't drop the name. It's a name you've for sure heard. But like one of these OG legendary marketers, they called their drip campaign the kill box, and I love it because it's like I come from a military family. I know what a kill box, and most people are like, "What the hell does that mean?" Right? And so I loved it, and I still use that terminology till today. But if you go into a doctor's setting, you say the kill box, that's not going to fly. Like no one's going to be like, "Let's run another kill box campaign, Graydon." Like. So the naming, but it's the same strategy, right? It's just a drip campaign. And so I think it's really smart to go and sort of like rename these things. And it's not like claiming hard, like I invented this strategy. It's just like, this is what we call it, the way that we do it in our system, right? It makes a lot of sense to people. It's like, it's very relatable to folks, right? So you guys, the most excited I saw you ever, I think, was when you were describing all the names that you guys came up with. And I was like, that is brilliant. I wish more people would do that. It was so cool to hear.
No, it's definitely worth it for sure. Like warning to anyone that does it, like you have to cycle through a couple till you find something that sticks. But generally things are like short, punchy, easy to say. Those are the names that are going to stick.
That's awesome, man. Cool. So like, where are you guys headed next? Where do you guys see yourselves taking this? Like, do you kind of have a vision for the next year to few years with this whole thing?
Yeah, Jordan, you want to?
Well, I think the big thing we want to do is, I think we want to keep making the product better and better and better. And I think we just want to have a service just that's like so good that it's kind of like you were saying, it's kind of like a utility where people are just like, oh, I have to have this. And like, just, there's a bunch of different features we want to add, from, like the product side. Like we want to have training for people to be able to create their own VSLs so that they can send the clients. We want to add that. And we just want to add a bunch of tools. And then I think we want to, in the next like 3 months or so, we want to get up to about like 200, 300 clinics. And then I think we're just going to kind of keep going from there.
Yeah, we'll just keep on scaling. Like we want to bring the revenue, like the first milestone will be like 100K revenue. And then we want to get it to like 100K profit, and then just like keep on building. Plus with this new done for you model, done with you, we have like our market's way bigger. Like we can work with med spas, but like we can also work with all these other different types of clinic. We can work with like, estheticians or like hair salons, like all types of beauty. we can work with them too. So like our market's becoming much bigger. So we're just going to keep on like improving the service and get more clients and try to not get ourselves in a fulfillment trap. Again, we'll have to be careful about that as we
Yeah.
scale.
Fulfillment trap is terrible. It's almost worse than having a job to me. It's this close. It's like, I may as well be a
Yeah.
McDonald's manager or something. I don't know. But like,
Yeah.
So dude, super proud of you guys. Everywhere that I look, I'm like looking for signals, and you guys, every time I see what you guys are doing, it's always like a signal, like a positive signal. Like you guys are taking steps in the right direction. I know it's not a straight line like we all wish it would be, but you guys seem to never get too far off course. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you both on as one of our first podcast guests, and really just kind of get people's mind to open a little bit as to how this can look, and maybe learn some things from people who've been through it. So super want to thank you for sharing and being transparent here. I know that you guys are big fans of the high level community, and I'm just super, it's been such a treat for me, like an honor for me to watch you guys as you've gone through this. And you've been super transparent about sharing your journey with me. And purpose of this podcast is so that maybe everyone else can hear, who cares, the same things that you've been sharing with me. So super thanks for that. And anything I can do to support you guys along the way, I'm here for you. I think you guys are just doing a smash job, especially for how young you are. I won't tell you what I was doing at your age, but it wasn't this. Okay. So just put it that way. So you guys should be super proud of all the work that you've done. And also, so if anyone wants to get in touch with you guys, let's say that there's a clinic, med spa, or maybe a fellow high level agency owner or SaaSpreneur, systempreneur who wants to get in touch with you guys. Do you want to just like tell someone where they can find you, your website, your socials, whatever you want?
Yeah, you can just go to foreverbooks.com, just the word foreverbooks.com. You can just like opt into our funnel, get on my email list, send me like an email. Or if you want to send me an email, it's just my name, Graydon @foreverbook.com. Or you can go, like I'm posting pretty regular YouTube videos now. And I'll just for example, I just posted a video on like our AI lead nurturing and kind of an update with that. So if you want to kind of follow us, how we're doing with that, you can go on my YouTube as well. It's just like YouTube, Graydon Ursel -- like Forever Booked. You'll be able to find the YouTube channel.
Sweet. And we'll put that in the show notes here for you, so people don't have to tickety-tack. We'll get a link in there for you. Sweet.
Thank you, Rob. Really
happy
appreciate
to.
it.
Yeah. Thanks, Rob.
I would love to get on the podcast like a year or so from now and give you
let's go. I think 6 months is more appropriate. Let's try for that.
Yeah,
before the end of the year.
We're going full speed ahead with this, so we'll be very much different in 6 months.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks a lot. Yeah, I was just gonna say thanks a lot to you, Rob, because we've been looking up to you for a long time, and that the DR thing was like, I think the highest
first
ROI
program
thing we've ever done.
Literally highest ROI we've ever got from a program, like bar none, for sure.
See, I'm saying I love being early in on stuff because of what you just said. Like your clients should be jumping on what you're selling right now because they're early. It's going to be the cheapest it's ever been. It's just going to get better from here. But honestly, guys, not everybody who got in at that stage has ran with it like you guys have. So it's an honor for me to, been a link in the chain of your journey. Okay. But you guys did the work. You deserve all the glory. You guys did the hardest part. So I'm very happy that I could have, added and maybe shortcutted that a little bit and given you your first starting system, but you guys have certainly done an amazing job innovating on your own system and going out in the marketplace and serving others, and making a bunch of money in the process. So yeah, that was all you guys. Can't take any credit for that. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it.
Bro. All right, guys, we'll see you again soon. Let's make it 6 months, not a year. I think we'll have a meaningful update by then. That's just my personal prediction. But you guys keep crushing it, and appreciate you guys for being on. Thank you so much.